Hello, namaste, and welcome to the second episode of Legends Smash It with Mangresh. I'm Mangresh Palekar, founder director Shuttle Craze. Today, it's my honor and privilege to have with us on our show my childhood friend, a role model, and an inspiration to many, badminton legend Aparna Popat. Aparna has been a national champion 9 times and an Arjuna awardee. She has represented India 17 years and she retired from the game in 2006 and still remained undefeated in the national championships. The highlights of her achievements at the international level are as follows. She participated in 2 Olympic Games, 1 Asian Games, a silver medal at the World Junior Championships in 1996, and 3 medals in Commonwealth Games. And she has been ranked in the top 16 in the world. Very few know that she was one of the 17 participants to be selected from around the world and lone Indian to be selected for the Global Sports Mentoring Program, an initiative by Hillary Clinton, US Secretary of State and ESPN. The prestigious program was aimed at empowering women and girls to the sport. Welcome, Aparna. Aparna, it's my really great pleasure to have with you on our show today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here and a little nervous also, Mangresh, to be honest. I said it's
why
bad
no?
enough to face you on the court now with questions also.
No, it's just a friendly chat so that all the viewers also know about it. Aparna, first question to you. You started at the age of 8. How did you develop keen interest in this sport and manage such a big milestone?
Well, I mean, that's many, many years ago, but if I think back, I don't think there was any plan. I come from a completely non-sporting family, so nobody knew what professional sport was. Nobody knew what, actually even training for sport was really. So I just loved playing sport. Uh, I used to play a lot of cricket when I was younger, table tennis, gymnastics, run, throw, jump, play in the building compound, play your catch and cook and your hide and seeks and everything, chore police, whatever, name it. But I enjoyed doing that. So I enjoyed being outdoors. So um, after a point, I think I became a pest for my mom at home because it was always some ball bouncing around the house somewhere. And she said, you want to do this, then get out of the house and do it. So I went to CCI Club. We were members there, luckily. And I went to the tennis court, actually, because tennis was my first love.
Oh.
And I wanted to play tennis because Steffi Graf was a big idol for me.
Oh,
so,
great. Okay.
So I went to the tennis court for a summer coaching camp. They said there was no summer coaching camp going on, or they said it was full or whatever. So then I went to the badminton court. And there we asked around and they said, oh, we might have a summer coaching camp. However, there was mom's friend, actually, in fact, Aditya Khan Sahib's mother, who actually pointed out to my mom and said, there's a coach coaching on court number 3. Just try speaking to him. If he coaches your daughter, nothing like it. So when that coach came off, my mom didn't know anything. She just asked him, said, will you coach my daughter? And he said, okay, you bring her to Sachivalaya Gymkhana tomorrow morning. I'll see if she's good. I'll coach her. If she's not good, she can join the summer camp. So my mom said, win-win situation. My daughter's sorted. One way or the other, she will get coaching and she will be out of my hair. And so that's what that gentleman happened to be Mr. Anil Pradhan. Next morning, I was there at Sachivalaya. He made me do some basic running, jumping jacks. He told my mom, he said, your daughter is very good. Send her tomorrow. Any shoes will do. Any racket will do. You don't want to pay me, I don't care. But you send her from tomorrow and only me, I will coach her. So that is how the journey started. Completely unplanned.
Maybe he had something which he had seen it in you right from the initial stage that could be even that is also possible.
Yeah, after that, Mangresh, it's really odd. What happened was he never let me on the court for about a couple of months. All I was doing was going for coaching and doing ball practice and coming back home. And at one point, my mom actually stopped him and said, look, you're not letting her play. She's going to get very bored and she's going to leave you. And he said, don't you worry. I can see, from her focus and from her attention that she's not going anywhere. And mind you, this was like 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We played for 8 years. Mangresh, you and me started in 89, right? Our first year on circuit.
Yeah, Bangalore National.
Under 12. Yeah, even before Bangalore Nationals, I think speaking about the Nasik tournament, I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
it was our first year, and I played the under 12. You were in the under 12 boys, and then I also participated in the under 15 girls.
Correct.
And I remember in the quarterfinals, I played my match at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely, yeah.
At 3 a.m. and I lost my quarters, okay, in 3 very closely fought games. And for me, after that, my opponent's mother actually came up to me and gave me a dairy milk and said, well played, beta, because 11 years old, right?
Yeah, correct,
So,
correct.
and I was up against a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
So she said, very well played, and I'm sure you're going to go very far. And, taking that dairy milk and then going and sleeping on those gaddas that were laid out.
I remember that. On the first floor, we used to have that. Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then you speak of the nationals. No, 89 was my first nationals,
Correct,
yours.
same.
Where
Same.
we didn't know anything. I didn't even know what a national championship was. So it was Anil uncle actually guiding me, telling me, he's saying, "Ye match mein aise maro, toss idhar maro, drop udhar maro." I said, "ठीक है, whatever you're saying, I'll do."
True.
Just happened to win the first nationals you played in, which was quite a pleasant experience.
Yeah, but Aparna, tell me, like, when you achieved such a big milestone, your hours of practice, how did you manage academics as well that time? Like, yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so great question. I think for me, and this is again, why I consider Anil Pradhan as my guru, because what he told me, he said, look, you can't be a champion on the court and not be one off the court. So no matter what you do, how you present yourself, how you behave, what else you take up, which included academics, you better put your best foot forward. So it's an attitude, right? So if you're doing your best in badminton, then you've got to do your best elsewhere also. So this is something he told me when I was very young. And now along with that, my school, I went to JB Petit High School, more known for its art and, encouragement in those fields more than sports. So more art inclined. So it wasn't sport at all.
Okay.
And hence my principal had, when my mom used to go to her to ask for permission to go for tournaments. She had very clearly told my mother that if her grades drop, because I was a very good student, like in the top in class. So she said the day I find her grades dropping, I'm not going to give her leave to go for tournaments. So that was a big scare for me, because again, I just loved playing so much. I said, I cannot afford to have anything that comes in the way of my badminton. So I remember studying till very late at night. In fact, not turning up an assignment late ever, not missing a test ever if I could help it. And school was so strict. So if I missed a test, I had to come back and give it after I returned from a tournament. So I think I got a full education in that sense. And it was an ICSE school. So it had the pressures, and it had, like, I remember Bombay Gym, which was very close to school, right? If I had 2 matches, I would, give a test, go for the match and come back and attend school. So
true.
These things you have to do. It's hard, but it's possible. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, true. And basically, how many hours of practice at the initial stages?
Initial stage, as I said, the first month was the only wall practice. There was nothing else. And thereafter, it was gradually, say, from half an hour to 45 minutes to an hour. I don't think I would have practiced more than an hour at a stretch, but 1 hour. And I think before that, it was, then after playing, it was feeding. So you stand on court, you feed the seniors. And then after that, I would still wait back and watch other players play.
But say, like, later on, as soon as, like, you started playing well, you started playing at the national level and international level. So what was your training schedule like? Whether you used to have in the morning ground training, like I remember, like, few months I was there with Prakash sir, we used to have the morning training and then immediately in the evening training. So we used to have 4 sessions, then again a Wednesday break, then again Thursday, Friday, then again Saturday, 1.5 day break. So what was your training schedule like?
So after I shifted from Mumbai, immediately after my 10th standard exams, I shifted to the Prakash Padukone Academy. I was 16 then.
Okay.
And already, I'd won my 3-4 national championships in the age groups.
Correct.
And so what they found was lacking, and which was at the right time, was to give that push physically. So to physical training, exposure to speed, when it came strength, speed, and all those sort of parameters. So the training schedule actually, from going from 1 session a day, immediately, as you mentioned, became 3 sessions a day. And it was 7 days a week when we started off, because morning would be either weight training or running. That would be a session that would start at about 4:30 for me, because I was a junior, and if I didn't get to the gym at 4:30 or 4:45 when the gym opened, the seniors would come in and put the heavy weights, and I wouldn't get the bar as I wanted to. So I would go much earlier than they came in. So we finished that, and either we would have a session at 11 o'clock, which was mostly like shadow or on court, something like that, or some footwork or shuttle runs or whatever. And then it would be a playing session at about 3 o'clock or something. So it would either be that or a combination of early morning training and then playing straight away, and then evening training on the ground again, whether it was uphill or it was running, jumping, athletic sort of fitness training. So yeah, approximately 3 sessions a day, and on Sunday mornings we would go for a long run.
Achha, now you tell me, you have played at the format of 15 points, you played at 21 points, you remember in between we had 7 points. 7 points, best of 5. And again we're back to 21. So you may be one of the few you have been playing at different so what do you think your training schedule that time and now? You see the difference between badminton then and now. What do you think the difference is?
I think huge amount of differences. Mostly, I think it gets dictated, as you rightly said, by the scoring format. Because at the end of the day, see, you have to be able to perform in the format that there is. So if you're training in a 15-point or an 11-point format, then training was different. In terms of matches were longer. You were more at ease because of the side out system. But but it was also a time where I felt was nicer, because you could be more creative, you could take more chances in that sense, and you could pace yourself out. Now with the 21.7 points, to forget, I think it came and went like a sprint only. The matches also were like that, and the era of that 7-point also was like
correct.
it came and went. And now with the 21 point, I think when it initially came, we were a little skeptical and said, oh, you have to be very careful and you have to play very safe, and but slowly I think players adjusted to it. Matches were shorter initially, now they've become as long as a 15 11 sort of format was, but it's more intense. I think it's more, the chances of recovery if you're down by a big margin are slim. So you have to be, I think, very, very careful in every 2-3 points becomes a very critical sort of gap.
So no, you've been from Anil Pradhan sir, then you came to Prakash sir, then from Prakash sir you went to Ganguly sir. All this journey. How was the journey? What was a different type of training you went through?
So I think, first of all, let me say that I've been extremely lucky with my coaches. In that sense, I just feel very blessed to have such good coaches. I mean, without Anil Pradhan or, Prakash uncle, Vimal uncle there, Bidu sir, and then Ganguly Prasad in Sai in Bangalore. So I shifted to Sai in about 2001. I think, and trained with him for 5-6 years after that. And I think that experience was also brilliant, because I mean, he's a coach who has just so many ideas, and I learned so much under him, and my game sort of changed and improved. I think I've been the fittest I was, when I was in Sai, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself, with him, because at that point, again, I was at a stage where I'd already won senior nationals, 2-3 times. So there was a lot of pressure, because he always used to tell me, he said, Apu, if, today you win, nobody's going to give me credit. But if you lose, they're all going to blame me. So, he trained me in that kind of pressure. And, but we had a very good rapport. So speaking of the journey, Mangesh, it was first more nurturing with Anil uncle. He took care of me like his own child. He taught me, as I said, lots more than only badminton.
True.
With Prakash uncle and Vimal uncle, I think Prakash uncle has been my idol. And just watching him.
That for everyone. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
and
but to get a chance to.
Drop dribbles. that was
everything. I think, when I said sitting and watching, it continued when I was training under him, because if he was feeding someone else, I was not moving from there. even though I'd finished, I would sit and watch and watch and watch. And he's a man of few words, so he wouldn't say
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much,
yeah.
but he would expect you to just understand and listen.
Understand. Yeah, true.
And so that was a huge opportunity to just see how his demeanor was, how his focus was.
Yeah,
um, Small when he'd feed us like 2 versus 1,
yeah,
and he would just be testing out first 3-4 minutes one half smash that goes out by so much, and
yeah,
a toss that goes out by so much. And
yeah.
after that he would announce, and he said, okay, I'm making no more mistakes, and for the next 20 minutes he wouldn't make mistakes. And
Oh,
that was a huge learning. I said,
yeah,
how is it even possible?
correct, correct, correct.
It's not humanly possible, but
Yeah,
I think it's just his genius that
yeah,
he could manage. And then of course with Ganguly Prasad, it was innovation and different ways of training and
correct.
lot of discussion.
Huh.
But right through, I think I have troubled my coaches in terms of asking them a lot of questions and saying, you said do this, why? And I can't understand, and this is not coming. And I remember coaches saying, but your shot is going well enough. I said, but I don't think it's going well enough. So like, what do we do? We can see it's all fine.
True, true.
I think a lot of learning from them, and very grateful. Without them, I wouldn't be where I was.
Very, very, very,
Or what
very
I
well said. Correct, correct. Now you spoke about pressure. Okay, so you played at such a high level. You played Commonwealth Games. You won so many medals, Olympics. So playing at the international level, such close matches, you have got so much of expectations from people. So how did you manage and handle that pressure?
see. Pressure is there for different reasons in every match. So when you play the Olympics, of course, it's a different pressure. When you play the Commonwealth Games, I remember 1998 when we played. There was a lot of pressure. It was my first Commonwealth Games. It was a very big event, and we went in a very big contingent, because at that point the men's team event and the women's team event were different. So we had a solid full men's team, and we had a solid full women's team, which was close to about 16, 17 of us, on the squad. And to add to the pressure, Prakash Uncle was the coach. Uday Pawar was also their coach. And I happened to reach the semi-finals. Now, what happened was I was playing Julia Mann of England, and it was 1-1, third game. I don't know what happened. I started off really badly. Before I knew it, I was down 1-9 in a 11-point format in the third game. And I remember the entire team, okay, they were sitting on the sidelines, and this includes Gopi and like everyone down on the floor, on the court, near the sidelines, and screaming and saying, you can do it, you can do it. And I think something switched in my head, and I managed to win that match and reach the finals.
Wow.
So it was just this kind of pressure that sometimes you can handle because of your teammates. And it was solely because of the encouragement. I can't think of any other logical reason as to why, from 1-9 you can come and sort of,
True, correct.
Win in such a pressure, like it's a medal match, right? If you win, you're assured of a medal.
That could be because Aparna, you always believed in yourself that you could achieve, right?
I see certain times, yes, I would surely
correct.
say. Like, for example, if I look at my last nationals, which was the 9th national, there was a lot of pressure because it was the 9th, and if I had won 9 in a row, I was equaling Prakash Padukone's national record.
Yeah.
Also, more pressure because my wrist was very bad at that point in time. I was practicing once a week. I hadn't done like upper body weight training for many months before that, because I couldn't lift the weights. So my upper body was very weak by then. My wrist was very painful, and painful in the sense that the pain was unpredictable. If it had come, then I would have had to concede and walk out. So more pressure because of that. Somewhere in my mind, I knew it was my last nationals because I was suffering from this injury for a while. So when I played Saina in the finals, I think that pressure, as you said, was belief. That was because my physio had said, Aparna, there's no way you're playing this tournament. Ganguly Prasad had said, good luck to you. Whatever happens, happens. He's saying, I cannot do any more. What we've tried is our utmost best. But I think that national title was belief, because there's otherwise, I just said, this is it. This is
Hmm.
your last shot. You got to do it. Draw whatever inspiration, instinct, whatever it may be,
Hmm.
and see it through. And believe it or not, I won that nationals, and
Yeah.
very memorable. Got a standing ovation, remained
Superb.
unbeaten, equal the record, and the next morning the pain came back.
Oh
So
my God.
destiny,
Destiny, absolutely.
just
Yeah.
destiny, and maybe belief. I don't know.
Correct.
I don't know. So
Correct, correct. And see, like now we mentioned about this match against Saina. So, which is like the biggest achievement in badminton? Your memories. What is it like? You always remember that match. There are few matches you may have lost, and sometimes it happens like I'm just not able to forget that match.
yeah.
In a way, like, so which is that matches like?
For me, it would clearly be the World Junior Championships.
The finals.
In 1996. So we this is one tournament I love because we enjoyed it so much.
Uh,
Again, Nikhil Kanetkar and myself were in Denmark about 2 weeks before the tournament
mm,
because the Prakash Padukone Academy had sent us there to train.
correct.
And after that, we followed it up with the World Juniors. We had carried 2 sets of kit, which
Mm.
means 2 t-shirts and 2 shorts, which equals 2 rounds maximum. And okay, and it was a draw of 145.
Uh,
Okay, and unseeded, we had no expectations. And the second round or the third round, I remember beating a Chinese girl, and then after that a Chinese Taipei, and then it just went on with one match at a time, one match at a time. I remember we used to play pool and all in the hotel,
uh,
and we would just be chilling, talking, and just generally having a good time.
true, true.
And before I knew it, I was in the semis,
Oh,
and that time there was no internet, and funding was very low, right? So the only way we could inform people back home was through a fax. Now
oh,
fax from Denmark was extremely expensive, so we didn't send any message, no nothing. And then one of my teammates, in fact Sampada's, I think father had called her, and I
oh.
sent a message through her, say please tell him to tell my parents to call me because they had the hotel number. So they called, my mom called and said, oh, how is everything? How is the weather? Is it too cold? Because assuming that the
Yeah.
tournament was done and dusted. So everything, she's chit-chatting, and then I said, ah, ma, okay, I have to go. I have my semis in the evening. She said, oh, good, you have semis in the evening. It didn't
Oh,
register only.
register.
So she repeated it, and my sister from the back screamed. She's saying, what? Semis in the evening? And that's when mom said, oh, you have semis in the evening. And so
Correct.
that's how, it went, then reached the finals. Of course, I lost in the finals, but it was
Yeah, but still it was
India's
the
first
biggest
medal
yeah, correct, correct.
at
At the
the World
juniors.
Juniors. At the
Absolutely.
World Juniors, and also big success, for the Prakash Padukone Academy, because I was there for
Correct,
2 years and they had really made the effort and pushed you
correct,
to.
correct,
Um,
correct, correct.
so I think that was just such a fun tournament, and all of us had such a good time. Me
Yeah.
especially, of course, for the medal, but I think yeah,
True.
it was the best memory.
Correct, correct. So now you know what, Aparna, you've seen the changes in what badminton it was before, right now also. So looking at it right now, how much do you think you would give importance to physical fitness and mental fitness? Like, they have like psychological sessions and so that's what I'm asking.
So I think, see, when you're training, na, there's a particular threshold that you have to keep, be it at a physical level, be it at a skill level, be it at a mental level. Because if you're looking to play, whoever your opponents are, it could be district, it could be state, it could be international, national, whatever it may be.
Hmm.
But if you want to compete, there's a basic minimum that
Hmm.
you have to have.
Hmm.
And I think thereafter it really gets dictated by your sort of game, and what you can do, what you can't do, and then find the right combination at particular stages. But that basic minimum of fitness today is extremely important, because if you can't keep pace, or you can't keep up with your opponents, then no matter what your skill is, you're not going to be able to match up.
So how much of
As-
importance would you give to ground training then, in the terms of
uh,
physical, if you say?
I think a lot, because see that everything at the end, it gets dictated by what you want to achieve. So if you want to achieve an X amount of endurance
Hmm.
or X amount of speed endurance, X amount of strength endurance, there are ways and means of doing it. You can do the same thing inside or indoors on court. You can do the same thing on the ground. But it's again what you want to achieve and
Correct.
how you want to achieve. And I think the biggest thing is not by, see, like in Mumbai, for example, finding grounds is hard. Like the court is in one place, the ground is in another place, the gym is in a third place, it becomes difficult.
Difficult.
So I think the main thing is to make use of what you have and what's accessible to you and make the best use of that.
Yeah.
That should be your primary, because what happens is, sometimes we compare to what somebody else has. And if we don't have access to it, it can't become an excuse. No, you have to
Yeah.
find
You have got to
ways and
find a way
means
to
of.
it. Yeah. Correct. Very
So,
true.
so in that sense, just use it, but first let be dictated by what you want to achieve. How you do it, there are many ways to do it.
Yeah. So you know what, like, in coaching also, like most of the kids, I keep telling them, from the age of 13 to 18 is a time for you to build your physical fitness, basic growth. The growth of the child is important. And after 18, when you come to in the seniors, basically everybody is physically fit. That is a time when you actually, your mental strength usually plays the part. So do you agree, do you agree with this type of, like what I'm saying is?
Yeah, I think absolutely, Mangesh, because there's a way, and there's a stage in your career that you push certain parameters. Like as I said, when I was younger, it was more skill, and then it became fitness, like you're saying.
Yeah.
You start pushing the fitness. When we put ages, we are putting very hard sort of barriers, but it's really dictated by the development of the child. So it could be 13 for some, it could be 14 for some, it could be 15 for some, it could be 12 for some. So we that just need that, of course the coach will know better. But as far as even mental training is concerned, now see, what is mental strength and what is mental training? That when you are under a high pressure situation, you should be able to deliver.
Yeah.
Okay, it's as simple as that. And that has to happen even when you're 12, even when you're 13, even when you're 14. It has to happen, means ideal case scenario, but you build it.
Yeah, but that time,
is what I'm
the
saying.
main pressure is from the parents. that is the most important.
Yeah, I think mental training is for everyone, no? For the coach also at that point in time.
Yeah,
For the
very true,
parents,
very
for the
true.
coach.
Yeah, but like parents also nowadays, they try to they want results at every stages, so that becomes a too much of pressure for the for the children also. So one more a question for, as a parent and as a mother or yourself, how would you expect your child to commit into the sport? It could be badminton, it could be the tennis, like how you said you had a first love was tennis. So how do you expect, from your end, commitment?
So I think not only sport, but I would see this in anything the child does. I would say commit to enjoying the sport.
Yeah.
Very important.
Very
Commit to putting your best effort and commit to learning. If these three commitments are there, then after that, whatever happens, right, will happen. And then you need to accept it. But having said that, I know, you've been in coaching long enough, Mangesh, but I will say this loud and clear that in spite of all this, you have to trust your coach. That is something I believe. You can do, put in your effort. You can do everything you have to do. The parents support the child when they're doing all these things. But at the end of the day, trust your coach. And in case there's something that you maybe feel differently about, go and speak to the coach about it. So that's it. Just
Great. Thank you so much, Aparna. It was so wonderful having a chat with you. Learned so much, all the memories, refresh the memories, actually, all the childhood memories. So wonderful. Thank you so much, Aparna. And anything else you would like to convey to people, your fans?
No, just that. I mean, I feel today that I've been extremely blessed in my career. Mangesh, when we started off in '89 to when I stopped, if I look back, I've won a national title every year, save 1 year. So in my age group, every year in the singles, it was winning. And after all that, right, it's been many years, 17 years to be exact. I still love the game as much as I do.
Very
And
good.
I think, I still can sleep well at night knowing that the integrity and my passion for the game and love for the game is absolutely intact. And
Very true.
I think I'm
Superb.
just
Yeah.
very, very happy and lucky that this is what I keep with me, and
Great.
I will continue to cherish forever.
Great. Great. Thank you. It's great. Absolutely wonderful. Best wishes to you for your future endeavors also, Aparna. So shall we finish it now?
Yeah, and
Oh,
thanks so much, and good luck to you also, Mangesh. You've
thank
been doing a fabulous job, so
Thank you,
all
thank
the
you.
very best.
Yes, thank you, thank you. It's my duty to just give it back to the sport, yeah, in some way or to the other.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's been fabulous. I think you've been doing great stuff with badminton and with your art, with
yeah.
your newfound talent.
Oh
So
yes, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, chal, thanks Aparna, and thank you viewers. Till then, to stay tuned and do listen to us and subscribe on our YouTube channel for more interesting chats with badminton legends. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.